Hello everyone! Today I've decided to do something completely different to, well, pretty much anything I've ever done on this channel, and that is going to be a video ranking every single Metallica album. So I've kind of got inspired to do this after Metallica just released a new single, Lux Eterna, which is pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's a fun one, fun little throwback. But yeah, I just wanted to rank every single album of theirs, from worst to best, not including Garage Inc., either of the S&Ms, like 598 EP will be not included, the Beyond Magnetic will not be included. Yeah, so just the 10 main studio albums I will be ranking from worst to best. There's not really much else for me to say, so let's just get into it. So coming in at number 10 for my personal pick of the worst Metallica album, I'm going to have to go with Reload. So to start off with the positives, the mixing on this one is fine. There's nothing offensive about it. It sounds just basically the same as Load. It's nothing that, nothing about it that bothers me. The Memory Remains, Low Man's Lyric, Fuel, and Bad Seed are all fantastic songs. Those four I absolutely love. Unforgiven 2 is fine. Carpe Diem Baby is barely passable. But that's about as far as my praises go with this album, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. There is so much shit here that just did not need to be released and is just so generic. Devil's Dance, Better With You, Slither, Where the Wild Things Are, Prince Charming, Attitude, Fixer. What? There's just nothing new tried in any of these songs, and it relies on the simple formulas that admittedly made songs like Memory Remains and Fuel successful, but it just does them poorly. Those 4 tracks, Memory Remains, Low Man's Lyric, Fuel, and Bad Seed, honest to God, I think they're the only tracks of this album that are worthy of being released. The creepy use of Marianne Faithfull's vocals in Memory Remains is memorable, and it creates for a really, really good live song that really gets the crowd into it. I love that. Low Man's Lyric use of the hurdy-gurdy and the incredible lyrics actually are just astounding and really, again, memorable. Fuel is a really fun, energy-filled song that isn't, amazing or anything like that, but I find it to be a lot of fun. Bad Seed's usage of C-sharp standard is, again, memorable and interesting and different, and it manages to be a really, really heavy and groovy track. But aside from those positives, this record is extremely forgettable and in my mind is their worst. Coming in at number 9 on my list, we have Load. Now this record isn't as bad as Reload, but for the most part it's still really unremarkable. The mixing again, the production's the same as Reload basically. King Nothing, Hero of the Day, The Outlaw Torn, and Ronnie, for me, are all fantastic songs. I love those 4, even Ronnie, yes, I think it's cool. 2x4 is okay. Until It Sleeps is fine. Bleeding Me is fine. Mama Said is fine. Wasting My Hate is fine. Ain't My Bitch is funny at first, but it grows tired after listening to it over and over again. You're kind of just like, yeah, okay, I get it. The House That Jack Built, Cure, and Thorn Within, those 3 songs are shit. And Poor Twisted Me is, in my opinion, the worst Metallica song ever. I hate that song, seriously. This record does try some interesting things like the use of Major Key in The House That Jack Built and Hero of the Day, although I think it didn't work in House That Jack Built and I thought it worked really well in Hero of the Day. The slap bass in Cure is interesting but also really out of place. Mama Said is a nice song, and it's commendable for them trying something different. I don't mind listening to it every once in a while, but it's still a little bit cheesy with that real country twang. The vocals on Poor Twisted Me are unlistenable, and its main riff is one of the worst things that they've ever laid down. Back to the positives of this album, King Nothing absolutely kicks ass. Hero of the Day is an experiment gone right. I really love the kind of twangy riff in Ronnie. I like its dark subject matter, how it handles that. I love its groove as well, and I find it just a really interesting song. And The Outlaw Torn might actually be my favourite Metallica song of all time. So much just emotion is conveyed through the guitars alone, and the way it builds up to James's final solo always gives me the chills. It's a 10-minute song, but it just absolutely works in every single part for me, and the chromatic riff behind James's solo that Kirk plays is just genius, and hearing it with the symphony is just unbelievable. Overall, this record is fine. Like, it's not bad the way Reload is, in my opinion, but it's got some really high points. But for the most part, it's just average. Number 8 on my list is Saint Anger. Yes, I put it here, shamelessly. I think that this album is so interesting, so much more interesting than the previous albums we've just talked about, and it is such a good time capsule for the band. Saint Anger, Some Kind of Monster, Dirty Window, Shoot Me Again, Sweet Amber, The Unnamed Feeling, and Purify, in my opinion, they're all really, really good songs. Frantic and All Within My Hands have their moments. Invisible Kid and My World, though, I will admit, are just shit, especially Invisible Kid. That's probably their second worst song, with the bloody drop G sharp. Production-wise, this album is fucking terrible, but you don't need me to tell you that. The snare is a disaster. James's vocal tracks are so awfully mixed. His backing vocals sometimes overlap the lead vocals, which is just so weird to hear, and it gets ear-piercing in parts, and the guitar sounds like someone's throat is being slit. Also, structurally, this album is awful. The songs are so long and drawn out, and I think that almost all the songs should be at least half of their length. I'm not kidding when I say this. Cut all the songs down from 8 minutes to 4 minutes, mix it properly, allow Kirk to solo, and turn the fucking snare on. Like, seriously, those 4 changes would make for one of Metallica's best albums. I'm serious. There is so much good shit here. At number 7 on my list, we have Death Magnetic. Now, this is where we're getting into legitimately good territory. The album is a real return to thrash roots, and although it isn't perfect, you can tell they really tried. Coming off of Saint Anger, they're just like, nah, fuck this. Let's just go back to doing what we're good at. And for the most part, they succeeded. Some of the riffs in That Was Just Your Life, The End of the Line, The Judas Priest, Jesus fucking Christ. The Judas Kiss, Suicide and Redemption, and My Apocalypse, while they aren't great songs, they have some amazing riffs and really show moments of greatness. Broken, Beaten, Scarred, The Day That Never Comes, All Nightmare Long, Cyanide, and The Unforgiven 3 are, in my opinion, some of their best songs. The only thing that, for me, really holds this album back, aside from, you know, some of the songs like That Was Just Your Life, etc., being not great, is the mixing. I seriously think that they didn't get the mixing on point. Like, even though, like, you know, they were like, Saint Anger, yeah, we fucked up, they still didn't really get back fully on track production-wise for this album. It's very dry and rough, and it feels unfinished. The drums are overbearing, and the guitars sometimes kind of feel like you're running your ears over razor blades. That being said, this album is still really good, and even though I don't love all of the songs, there are aspects in every single song on this record that I do love. Number 6 on my list, do not freak out, it is And Justice for All. Let me just get this straight. I really like this album. It is a classic. It has some of their best songs. One is a masterpiece. And Justice for All is great. Blackened kicks so much ass. Harvester of Sorrow is heavy, and it is so good. And aside from the cringeworthy chanting Viking bullshit intro to the Frayed Ends of Sanity, that's probably a top 5 song for me from Metallica. But the mixing on this album, like Saint Anger and Death Magnetic, is shitter than shit. It actually pisses me off. Like, where is the bass? I know they just lost Cliff and but come on. Oh my god. Just turn the bass up. This album is so bone dry and dead sounding and just pounding, like, just in your ears with just this dry and rawness that just doesn't work. And if I am being honest, there are a couple of duds on this album too. Like, Eye of the Beholder is as throwaway as you can get for this Metallica era. The Shortest Straw is fine. I appreciate the sentiment of To Live Is To Die. It's a collection of riffs that Cliff Burton wrote himself, and these are just the ones that he left on like the cutting room floor for like Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. He didn't end up using them, so Metallica decided to compile them, put them into one big epic 10-minute song. But if I'm going to be perfectly honest, guys, there was a reason that Cliff didn't use these riffs. Die Is Eve is fine, but it also kind of just feels like it's Metallica flexing their musical talent, which, yes, obviously they're very talented, and this song is unbelievable to listen to. You're like, holy shit, how do they fucking do this? But it kind of just feels like it's complex for the sake of being complex. Overall, it's still a classic album, but the mixing and a few of the tracks really bump it down for me. At number 5 on my list is Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and now we're getting to the really great stuff, and please don't eviscerate me for putting this above And Justice for All, please. This isn't a perfect album. Okay, this straight up is not perfect by any means. Man Unkind, Now That We're Dead, Murder One, they should have been cut. They shouldn't have seen the light of day. They're terrible. But I'm going to say, aside from those 3 bland, uninteresting, boring as shit songs, everything else on this album is great. Hardwired is a perfect opener that packs an almighty punch. Atlas Rise contains a riff halfway through that just really feels like a classic 80s riff, and it manages to back itself up with actual good music, aside from that amazing riff. Moth Into Flame isn't amazing, but it is still more than listenable, and I enjoy multiple parts of that song. Dream No More and Halo on Fire are 2 of my absolute favourite songs Metallica have ever done, especially Dream No More. I really like the themes of PTSD that Confusion explores, and it has some mad riffs as well. And Am I Savage contains the straight up heaviest Metallica riff. Like, holy shit, that one hits each time I listen to it. Both Here Comes Revenge and Spit Out the Bone are awesome thrash songs as well. I really love the sound of this one. They just got it right this time. And it looks like they had a really fun time making it. So overall, I love Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I think it's a great record. I think it's a real good return to form. I think it's definitely better than Death Magnetic and Saint Anger, obviously. But it kind of takes the good parts of Death Magnetic and expands upon it, and I love it. Number 4, Kill 'Em All. Fuck yeah. This album is as raw and as powerful as Metallica ever got. The youngness and just excitement of the band really shines through in every single song. You can tell by this record that they just love music, they love metal music, and you can just hear it through songs like the incredibly upbeat and optimistic Motor Breath, and just the absolute fun of Whiplash. Anesthesia Pulling Teeth is a super fun experiment from Cliff. Jump in the Fire is super memorable and catchy due to its use of G minor actually, which I find interesting, and the riff is just sick. And the rest of this album is just pure fun energy with songs like Seek and Destroy, Phantom Lord, Hit the Lights, Metal Militia, No Remorse, and my personal favourite off this record, The Four Horsemen. They didn't quite master the sound as well as they will in their next album, Ride the Lightning, but overall, there is just nothing negative I can say about the songs on this record. I love Kill 'Em All. Number 3 on my list, we have Metallica, aka The Black Album. This may be a bit high for some of you, but for me, I think that The Black Album is just a masterful achievement. It showed incredible versatility in their songwriting skills, which they had shown hints of in their previous albums, but they really expanded upon it here in songs like Nothing Else Matters and The Unforgiven. The album is perfectly produced as well. Like, it is just warm and pleasing to the ears. Despite being overplayed, I still think that Enter Sandman is an excellent song. And despite the fact that a lot of people consider this album too mainstream, they weren't afraid to get dark with a lot of their songs. Sad But True, The God That Failed, My Friend of Misery, and The Struggle Within are all really intense songs both musically and thematically. And songs like Holier Than Thou, Wherever I May Roam, Through the Never, and Of Wolf and Man are all excellent songs that are just an absolute blast. And the outlier here is Don't Tread on Me, which is really, really interesting because it contains a really deceptively patriotic intro at the start, and then you get to halfway through and there's this sick fucking riff. It's so good. All in all, this album is great, and I don't think it gets the credit and respect that it deserves in a lot of its aspects. Unlike a lot of lists that I have seen, I've decided to put Master of Puppets at the number 2 spot. This album is basically perfect. The sound is amazing. James's singing is incredible. Cliff is so good on the bass. Kirk goes nuts on the guitar. Lars is tight as fuck on the drums. Almost every song on this album just hits perfectly. It's so good. Battery is pounding and so energetic. Master of Puppets is incredibly unique with its tonal shift halfway through. The Lovecraftian, the thing that should not be, is creepy and heavy. It fucking... so good. Welcome Home is a brooding critique on institutions, and just musically, it's an incredible song that just builds and builds and builds and then fucking hits. Disposable Heroes has, in my opinion, probably Metallica's catchiest chorus. You will do what I say when I say back to the front. Leper Messiah is just pure classic metal with a sick sweet picked solo. Orion is easily one of Metallica's best songs between Cliff's bass line and the incredible harmonies. And Damage Inc., while being easily, for me at least, the weakest off of the album, it's still an energetic closer. So yeah, Master of Puppets, I don't really have anything new to say about it. So that means that, of course, coming in at number 1 on my list, we have Ride the Lightning. I don't really have that much to say, aside from the fact that Ride the Lightning is just the best Metallica album for me, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. The sound is perfect. It regains that grittiness and rawness from Kill 'Em All, but just expands on it enough so that it just has a little bit more saturation or something to it that just really, really works for me. Every single song on this album is a winner. There's not one song that you're like, oh yeah, that's probably the weakest of the album. No, all of these ones are easy 11 out of 10s. Fight Fire with Fire instantly cements Metallica as a band not scared to go out of the ordinary and stray from the usual with its weird Blackbird-esque intro. Ride the Lightning is so cool with Kirk's literally epic solos, and I know that that's a cringeworthy word to use, but you cannot tell me that Kirk's solo on that song isn't epic. It just goes on and on and on, and it is incredible to listen to. For Whom the Bell Tolls. Need I say any more? Fade to Black is their first and possibly best ballad. Trapped Under Ice is an energetic and overall super fun song. Escape, despite being absolutely despised by the band members, really makes the album as distinct as it is, because it's the kind of one where you're like, oh yeah, that song on it, that kind of mix between metal and 80s commercial, and I just think, I love Escape. I think it's such a good song. Creeping Death is another classic, which is just, it's a staple in metal at this point. Like, you can't be a metal fan without fucking loving Creeping Death. And The Call of Cthulhu is a stunning instrumental that is as reflective as it is powerful, and I think it is one of their best songs ever. I love that song so much. It's such a perfect closer. So yeah, Ride the Lightning. There is nothing I don't like about it. It is fucking incredible. So, that is my ranking of all of Metallica's albums. I hope you enjoyed. If you have listened to all of their albums, then let me know what your ranking is in the comments. If you've only listened to a few of them, let me know which ones you like the best. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. Bye.